Is there a place on Earth with more myths than the Bermuda Triangle? The most mysterious part of the ocean from where many don't return. It's a zone of anomalies, a hideout for aliens, various military experiments, a portal to another dimension. There are many different stories about the Bermuda Triangle, and most of them are very far from reality. But sometimes, in the Triangle Zone, something happens that even causes skeptics to fall silent. Because it's hard to argue with a living witness. But is it possible to believe their words? To finally understand the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle, I decided to conduct my own research. First, I want to briefly remind you what this abnormal zone is. The Bermuda Triangle is the name for the area in the Sargasso Sea, which can be outlined right with a triangle. At one corner is Miami, another the islands of Bermuda, and the third point is San Juan, Puerto Rico. However, though some people like to stretch the dangerous area in different directions, I'll stick to the generally accepted version. The surroundings of the Bermuda Triangle are constantly traveled. Various ships cross here, from cargo ships to cruise ships and pleasure boats, and airplanes constantly cross the sky over this triangle. But the bad reputation never fades. It all started with Flight 19. On December 5th, 1945, 5 American aircraft were on a training flight in the Bermuda Triangle area when they suddenly disappeared. All 14 pilots, as well as the 13 crew members of the aircraft that performed the search for the missing planes. And so far, no one has been able to determine the exact cause of what happened. So, the legend was born, a danger zone with an area of 1.3 million square kilometers, or roughly 500,000 square miles, which is also sometimes called the Devil's Triangle. After this incident, the number of references to the anomalous area began to grow. People remembered that sometimes some really strange things happened there. This mystery can even be traced back to the time of Christopher Columbus. Fans of mysticism claim that the famous explorer passing through this zone saw an incomprehensible object flying away into the sky, accompanied by a strange glow. Columbus also noticed that his compass behaved very strangely in this area. Does this mean that paranormal activity began in the Bermuda Triangle a very long time ago? If you believe the first story regarding unusual disappearances, then everything is much more serious than some may at first believe. One cargo ship and 3 aircraft, along with all passengers and crew, were lost in the Bermuda Triangle just during the period from 1945 to 1950. And this is not counting the case of Flight 19. In fact, there are many such examples. Incidents in the Bermuda Triangle even have their own Wikipedia page. The influence of the triangle even extends onto land. In 1969, 2 small lighthouses on the tiny island of Great Isaac Cay completely disappeared. Neither they nor the bodies of those involved were ever found. True, Tropical Storm Anna swept nearby during the same period. Are these events connected? I have no doubt. But the mystical events of the Bermuda Triangle are most certainly not always without witnesses. Along with more than 900 dead, there have been 19 survivors. I think most of them will not be able to tell us much of anything. Too much time has passed. But there's at least one person in the world who's ready to share information about this mysterious place. And this person is not just a theorist. He experienced abnormal activity himself and managed to survive. His name is Bruce Gernon. On December 4th, 1970, Bruce, along with his father and his business partner, took off from the island of Andros, heading for Miami Beach. It wasn't his first time making this flight, and everything went as usual. The trip should have taken about an hour and a half. Bruce was piloting a Beechcraft Bonanza light engine aircraft. Immediately after takeoff, he noticed a small cloud. The plane rose to an altitude of about 300 meters, or about 1,000 feet, and the cloud also rose with them. It grew literally before their eyes, but the aircraft managed to slip through it. After 10 minutes had passed, and at an altitude of 3,505 meters, or about 11,500 feet, another cloud appeared. It was so large that Bruce again had no choice but to fly directly into it. Everything around immediately turned black, although there was no rain. The pilot noted strange white flashes that were not like lightning. They were so bright that they lit up everything. After about half an hour, Bruce suddenly realized that this was the same cloud through which they'd flown earlier. It had the shape of a ring, a kind of giant donut-shaped cloud. Bruce saw no way to escape from the captivity of this strange cloud when suddenly he noticed a small clearance. This was his only chance. The hole looked like a tunnel just over 1.5 kilometers or 1 mile wide and about 16 kilometers or 10 miles long. At the very end of the tunnel, he could see blue sky. But as soon as the plane entered the tunnel sharply narrowed. The walls of the tunnel were curved and shrinking, continuously closing in. The whole of the interior was covered with small gray threads of clouds that spun counterclockwise right in front of and around the aircraft. The navigation instruments malfunctioned, spinning maniacally in the glass dials. Fortunately, Bruce managed to break out of this strange captivity. About 20 seconds passed, but at that moment, no one cared. The plane was enveloped in a strange fog. The pilot immediately contacted ground control to determine their location, but the dispatcher could not see the aircraft on radar. Is this possible? Theoretically, yes. Interference can affect radar instruments. But what happened next scared everyone, including Bruce himself. The dispatcher suddenly announced that the plane was already in the sky over Miami. Let me remind you, this flight usually takes about 75 minutes, but only 47 minutes had passed, a little more than half the time. Bruce's plane couldn't have accelerated to such a speed. The design of the aircraft simply didn't allow for such a thing. Gradually, the fog cleared and the pilot saw that he really was above Miami. Returning to the ground, Bruce checked the amount of fuel used and the clock. Everything looked as if the plane had suddenly teleported from one point in space to another by itself without the help of engines, as if the plane had gone through a portal. I agree, this all sounds completely unbelievable. However, the news of the strange journey quickly spread through the media, and later Bruce even published a book regarding his theory of what had happened on that fateful day. In his opinion, the electrically charged fog surrounding the plane was to blame for everything. Professor David Pears agrees with Bruce. The fog formed between two areas of lower and two areas of higher pressure over Florida. Usually, such zones create powerful thunderstorms, but it's not due to just this alone. The ionized air, which creates that eerie fog, also disabled the compass, according to the professor. But what about the appearance of the aircraft having somehow moved in space? This apparently can be explained by dark energy. This form of energy, existing so far only in theory, is responsible for the accelerated expansion of the universe. Some researchers believe that dark energy can be used to create a special engine, allowing us to travel huge distances in fractions of a second. Just like with Bruce's plane. This is a very complex hypothesis, which involves something like a curvature bubble that alters space and time. Generally speaking, to be kind, this is difficult to prove, at least for anything in the near given future. A much more interesting question is where the dark energy could have come from above the Bermuda Triangle. Any ideas? Of course, if you want, you can always come up with some explanation. And many mysterious disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle certainly have completely non-mysterious explanations. For example, ships and planes can fall victim to storms. Some eyewitness accounts are fictitious. Some details are embellished. Also, according to some, the number of ships and planes missing in the area is no more and no less than any other part of the world ocean. Statistically speaking, of course. But still, in the Bermuda Triangle, there is something strange, something fascinating, and something inexplicable. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Click on the bell to receive notifications of new interesting videos that are waiting for you ahead.